My dad banned me from mom's birthday to show off my sister's successful boyfriend. Then he saw me on a video call and said, "Hello, boss." Their apologies came too late. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. Hey, let me tell you about something wild that happened with my family a couple of years ago. My dad straight up told me that having me around was embarrassing for the whole family. Yeah, that really happened. It all started when I casually asked if we were inviting the whole crew over for mom's birthday, like we did every year. My dad hit me with, "Maybe it's best if you don't come." He was worried I'd make them look bad in front of my sister Melissa's boyfriend. I was speechless, so I just went to my bank account and canceled all those automatic payments I'd been covering for them over the past 2 years. It took them a month to realize how much they needed me, but by then, I didn't want to hear any apologies. I had decided it was time to do my own thing. Oh, quick intro, I'm Nolan, 30, living in a small town about 40 minutes from Seattle. Every morning I grab my coffee, catch the weather report, and head to the office that's like 10 minutes away. I co-founded a small tech startup focused on renewable energy. Honestly, I don't think my family ever really got what I do. They probably imagine me fixing machines all day, but I've never bothered correcting them. When people ask about my family or my sister, I just smile and say it's been a while since we've talked, keeping it simple. We haven't spoken in over 2 years, no calls, texts, holiday get-togethers, nothing. Just this silence that feels like a severed line between us that nobody wants to fix. I used to think family was everything, but that changed 2 years ago around my mom's birthday. I was all set to fly home, took time off, and planned to help with the celebrations like always. After booking my flight, I called my mom, but my dad answered instead. I let him know I'd be coming home a couple of days early and asked if they needed anything. There was a weird pause, and then he bluntly told me it'd be best if I didn't come. At first, I thought he was worried about my schedule, so I said everything was sorted. Then he got colder, explaining that Melissa's boyfriend was coming home, and apparently, my job wasn't impressive enough to talk about. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. "If you come, don't call me your father." And just like that, he hung up on me. I just stood there, stunned, holding my coffee, feeling the silence around me. His words were like a mantra, repeating in my head. I thought of all the bills I'd quietly paid for them, electricity, water, internet, for more than 2 years without a peep from them. So, I checked my transaction history and saw everything clear as day, nearly $10,000 spent on them. That was the moment I decided things had to change. I hope maybe my story resonates with someone out there. It wasn't shock that got me, it was this weird sense of something settling in my chest. Not sadness, not anger, just emptiness. I had forked out nearly $10,000, and now they were calling me the family disappointment. As I scrolled through the endless bank transactions, a question popped into my head, a question no one in my family had dared to ask in 30 years. Has Melissa ever done as much for our parents as I have? I wasn't jealous or looking for recognition. I just wondered if I was the family embarrassment. Who were they comparing me to? I'd been quietly covering nearly $10,000 worth of our parents' living expenses without ever bringing it up. Did she ever have to sacrifice anything? Did she even ask if they needed help, or did she just show up, dazzle everyone with her smile, and leave with her successful boyfriend? I wasn't trying to keep score. It was just that, for the first time, I realized fairness wasn't a thing in our family. Since I was a kid, I'd always been the one half hidden in the family photos, never quite in focus. No one told me to step aside, but somehow, I always did. Every big family moment revolved around Melissa. From birthdays to graduations and even her breakups, there was always a reason to cheer for her. As for me, I can't remember the last time anyone asked how I was doing. Melissa is 2 years older, but the real gap was never about age. She was the star, our parents' pride and joy. Conversations with relatives were all about her successes, and me? If I was mentioned, it was just, "Oh, Nolan? He's fine, does something with tech, I think." I used to believe that if I worked hard, stayed out of trouble, and quietly took care of things, maybe one day they'd notice me. But they didn't. Funny thing about being invisible, no one misses you when you're gone. I started paying my parents' utility bills, electricity, water, internet, almost 2 years ago. It all started with a call from my mom, complaining about rising costs and their retirement income not cutting it. She gently asked if I could help out a little, and I agreed. I thought it would be temporary, but the months passed, and it became routine. I'd occasionally ask, "Is Melissa helping out, Mom?" She'd always dodge the question or say, "Just this month, your sister will pitch in next time," but I knew she wasn't. I kept sending money, about $400 a month, without complaint, because I believed it was the right thing to do. I thought if I was quiet and responsible enough, maybe they'd notice. But today, even after all that, they still call me the shame of the family. As everything around me went quiet, I just sat on the couch, holding my phone. I wasn't angry or heartbroken anymore. There was only a feeling that whispered, "That's enough." So I opened my banking app, looked at the automatic payments for my parents' bills, and canceled them one by one. I didn't do it out of spite but to hold on to the one thing I had left, a bit of self-respect. About a week later, my mom reached out. No apologies, just her usual soft tone. "I gotta notice the internet bill is due. Can you take care of it?" I read the message, stared at my phone for a moment, and then put it down without replying. Not to make a point, but because, after everything, their first thought was still a request. No, "Are you okay?" Not even a simple, "Can we talk?" So I stayed silent, and that silence said everything. So, after everything that went down, about 2 weeks later, my dad gave me a call. The phone rang a few times and then stopped because I didn't pick up. A couple of minutes later, my phone beeped with a voicemail from him. His voice was the same as always, sharp and impatient. He was calling because the power company reached out about the unpaid bill for the month. There was still no concern or acknowledgement of what he had said the last time we talked, when I mentioned I'd be coming home for Mom's birthday. I listened to the voicemail, switched off the screen, and placed the phone face down on the table, deciding to stay silent until Mom's birthday. Fast forward to 3 weeks after Dad told me not to come home. It was Mom's birthday. The usual party went on without a hitch, her favorite roast chicken, the same cake from the bakery she liked, and a few close relatives gathered around the dinner table. Everything was perfectly in place, except for me. That afternoon, at exactly 4 p.m., I was chilling in my living room, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold. My phone buzzed. Mom was calling. I stared at her name on the screen for a few seconds and then just put the phone back down without answering. A couple of minutes later, Dad called, then Melissa, 2, 3 calls in less than 10 minutes. I let them all ring through. I didn't feel any urge to respond. I stayed where I was, leaning into my chair with my eyes on the foggy window. The sky outside was a dull gray, cold, but no rain. It felt like winter was just around the corner. About 10 minutes later, the messages started rolling in. Mom texted first, "Nolan, the power's been shut off. The whole house is dark. Please pay the bill." I read her message quietly, feeling a hollow sensation. You know, the kind of emptiness that comes when you realize you've spent years taking care of your family, and now you're the only one bearing that weight. Then Dad, "No water. We can't cook. Handle it now. And Melissa, internet's down. Guests are arriving. Please fix this. Urgent." I looked at the clock, 5:12 p.m. I remembered clearly that I canceled all the automatic payments exactly 3 weeks ago, right after Dad told me if I insisted on coming home, I should never call him Dad again. And now, in the middle of the birthday party they didn't want me at, everything started shutting down. The power, the water, the internet, each stopped just when they needed them the most. I didn't text back or call. There was no urge to explain anything. I just sat there, slowly turning the cold coffee cup in my hands, eyes still gazing through the window as if seeing beyond everything. At that moment, I understood they weren't calling because they missed me. They called because no one was left to handle things for them. By around 6 o'clock in the evening, my phone started buzzing nonstop again. This time, it wasn't my parents or Melissa, but the relatives, the ones who only show up on holidays but somehow think they can pass judgment. The messages came in waves. Some called me disrespectful, while one outright said, "You embarrassed your mother in front of the whole family." Another was subtler but still hurtful, "Your sister was right. People like you shouldn't show up on a happy day." I read through each message without bothering to reply, not because my silence meant agreement, but because I'd long stopped trying to explain myself to people who always sided with the loudest voice over what was right. I was about to set my phone down when the screen lit up again. It was Aunt Lauren. She's the only one who still holds a bit of trust in me. She was video calling through an old app only she and I still used because we valued seeing each other when it mattered. I hesitated for a moment but answered on the second ring. Her face appeared slightly blurred by the warm glow of her kitchen. It was a place I used to know like the back of my hand, every crack on the wall, every squeaky cabinet. But tonight, The room felt different, with clinking silverware and awkward laughter floating in the background. She looked at me through the screen, her eyes soft but worried. "You're not going to pay it, Nolan?" Her voice wasn't accusatory, just gentle as if she was trying to make sense of things. I met her gaze and, when I finally spoke, my voice was slow, dragging up something I'd buried for too long. "You know, Auntie, it was Dad who told me not to come," I said, my throat tightening. "He said if I still insisted on showing up, I shouldn't call him my father anymore." She went quiet, her gaze shifting as if she were scanning for the right words. So there I was, just minding my own business when suddenly, everything went crazy. I overhear my mom's voice, super clear over all the noise, saying, "Tell him I'm ashamed of him, especially today. How could he do this?" My dad fires back all loud, "It's not a big deal, it's just paying a few bills. Who gets upset over money?" Then I think it was my uncle chiming in, "Poor Melissa, dealing with a brother like that." Next thing I know, Melissa walks in behind Aunt Lauren, looking super irritated with her arms crossed. He even picked up the call. "Mom's been crying all day. Doesn't he care at all? Seriously, no shame." I just kept quiet, clinging to my silence like it was my only shield. Just as I was about to hang up, this young guy pops up on the screen, neat hair, suit, looking a bit unsure. He gives me a hesitant smile and goes, "Hey boss." I froze, gripping my phone tighter without realizing it. I didn't expect this to happen, especially since everyone said I was too much of an embarrassment to invite. I stared at him, and suddenly it hit me. His face, the way he talked. Of course. He was one of the new hires from our southern branch. We'd exchanged a few emails, he'd sent me some reports, but it never clicked that he was Melissa's boyfriend, the one everyone wanted to impress. The room behind Aunt Lauren just went silent. She glanced back, and the kitchen suddenly came alive with whispers. Someone asked, "Wait, what did he just call Nolan?" Another voice, unsure, "Boss? Does that mean Nolan is Melissa's boyfriend's boss?" The murmurs grew, and I just kept my eyes on the screen, not confirming or denying anything, just waiting to see what would happen. Then the young guy straightens up, looks past the camera at everyone, and says loudly, "In case you didn't know, I work at Pacific Terra Tech. Mr. Nolan is one of the company's co-founders." His words cut through the chatter, and everyone went quiet, not awkward, just stunned. I stayed silent, gave a small nod as a quiet confirmation, and then he turned back to me, eyes wide. I calmly said, "Hope your big introduction goes perfectly," and hung up. That night, I slept like a baby. No tossing, no racing thoughts, no waking up with old worries in my head. For the first time in years, I felt light, not because I was satisfied, but because they finally knew who I really was. The next morning, before the sun was fully up, I checked my emails as usual. A few meeting reminders, some notes from accounting, and an unexpected email from someone named Hudson Kane. I opened it, and the first line grabbed me, "I'm sorry, I didn't know you were Melissa's brother. I've always respected you at the company." I raised an eyebrow, leaned back, and kept reading. Hudson was genuinely surprised about my family connection with Melissa and said, without sugarcoating it, "I didn't expect her to be like that. I'll be ending this relationship. Thank you for not putting me on the spot." I let the phone rest on my chest, closed my eyes for a bit, then replied, slow and clear, "Hudson, that's your decision. I don't expect anyone to act just to stay in my good books. Think carefully before you do anything. And for the record, I don't mix family with work." I hit send, no overthinking, no extra emotions needed. Around 10 a.m., as I was wrapping up a meeting, my phone buzzed. It was Melissa. I looked at it for a few seconds and hit decline, not out of anger or to prove a point, but because I'm just tired of apologies that only come after things fall apart. 5 minutes later, a message from her popped up, "I'm sorry, I didn't think Hudson would change like that. You're his boss. If you said something, I'm sure he'd listen. Please talk to him." I asked him to come back and talk to me after he read it. I was leaning against the hallway window, rereading the message, and typed my reply. It wasn't too long or too short, just enough for her to get it. "Hudson didn't leave because I told him to. He left because of your lifestyle, the way you treat others, look down on things you don't get, and think you can manipulate people with a sweet voice." I pressed send, put my phone away, and went back to my desk. But, no surprise, she messaged me right away, saying she knew she messed up and she'd change. This time, for real. I just sat there, not feeling much. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally got it. Sometimes it's not the apology but when it comes. I deleted the message, leaving nothing behind, and returned to my life. A week later, on a Friday afternoon, As soon as I got back inside from the garage, I froze. My parents were on the porch, each with a small suitcase, looking exhausted from a long flight. I didn't bother asking why they were here. If they flew all the way to see me, it wasn't just a friendly visit. I let them in, no fake politeness, just decided not to have that chat outside with the wind getting stronger. We sat in the living room, sipping tea. My dad started talking, more calm than usual, and my mom added in, saying they'd rethought stuff, maybe gone too far. I stayed quiet, just listening. Was this apology the end of something or the start of something else? As I expected, my dad's tone shifted. He started the usual family speech, "We're family, and family helps each other. We raised you, sent you to school. What you have now partly came from us, right?" I just looked at him, keeping my face neutral but sitting up straighter. Then my mom chimed in, her voice trying to sound reasonable, asking if I could send them about $2,000 a month. It wasn't much for someone like me, she said. I glanced at them, the same folks who once considered me an embarrassment and now wanted to put a price on their apology. I laughed softly, like when someone tells a story that doesn't add up. They looked at me, expecting me to agree. But I wasn't mad, I had moved past that. I leaned back, speaking clearly, "What about Melissa? How much is she chipping in each month?" The room went still. My dad looked at my mom. She said slowly, "Your sister's job is shaky, and the breakup with Hudson hit her hard." I nodded, hearing the same old excuses cloaked in empathy that was more like deflection. Looking at them straight, I said, "If she agrees to $2,000 a month, I'll match it. No more, no less." Their silence spoke volumes as they tried to figure out if I was serious. I kept it cool and added, "Or, if you want me to pay the full amount, I'll need it in writing, a legal deal saying the house will be mine fully when you both pass." I waited, no pressure, just seeing how they'd take it. Suddenly, my dad stood up, slamming his hand on the table, making the teacup tumble over. He shouted, "Setting conditions for your parents? We raised you for over 20 years, and now you treat us like this? What kind of life are you living?" His voice was so loud, I wouldn't be surprised if the neighbors heard him. I heard everything, stayed super still, and didn't even blink. Just sat there with my hands resting on the chair, looking right at him. My eyes weren't cold, but they definitely weren't soft anymore. I waited for him to finish, then got up slowly. My voice was calm but clear enough to cut through the chaos he'd just created. I told him, "I think you both should leave my house." It wasn't a threat or said in anger, just a simple request from someone who'd reached the end of their patience. Nobody said another word. The only sounds were their luggage being dragged across the hardwood floor and the door clicking shut. It was quieter than the storm they left behind. It's been 2 years since I last saw them right here at my place. I didn't block their numbers or change my email. I didn't completely cut them off, I just stopped making the effort and waited to see if they'd still consider me family without the obligation hanging over us. In these 2 years, no calls, no messages asking how I've been, no mentions of birthdays or health, not even a simple "how are you?" I used to think they'd change someday, but I've realized not everyone changes, especially if they never believed they were wrong. I'm still here, living my life and working, but I've stopped being an emotional ATM, pouring out kindness and getting hurt in return. Here's something I've learned: family isn't a place where people can demand your kindness under the guise of love. Real family sees you as a person beyond what you can give, not just as a wallet or a backup plan. Before I wrap this up, I want to ask, was I wrong for not going back, for saying no to supporting my parents with $2,000 a month, even when they're older and raised me? I used to believe family could heal everything, but feeling like a stranger in my own home over and over, I chose to break that cycle. Was I too cold, or did I finally start loving myself at the right time? Let me know your thoughts below. I really want to hear from you, whether you agree or not. If this story resonated, don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. There are so many stories still to be shared. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around until the end.